It was a foggy morning when Hercule Poirot, the renowned Belgian detective, first encountered the case that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He sat in his small office in London, sipping his usual black coffee, when a knock on the door interrupted the silence. The visitor was a tall, imposing figure, an aristocrat, perhaps in his late 40s, with an air of arrogance that immediately put Poirot on edge. The man introduced himself as Lord Edward Darcy, a name that seemed familiar but was hardly notable in the world of high society. Lord Darcy's presence, however, was not what piqued Poirot's interest. It was his demeanor. The man was anxious, pacing back and forth in a manner that suggested a deep, unresolved inner turmoil. He spoke in broken sentences, as though his mind was a maze of conflicting thoughts. He revealed that he had come to Poirot because of a matter of utmost importance, one that had threatened to destroy his family, his name, and everything he had worked for. Poirot, ever the professional, listened patiently, his keen mind processing every word. "My family," Lord Darcy began, "is cursed. The bloodline has carried a terrible secret for generations, a secret so vile that it has been buried in the depths of history, but now it threatens to surface. I need your help, Monsieur Poirot. You are the only one who can unravel this mystery." Poirot's mind began to race. His curiosity was piqued, but he also sensed something disingenuous in Lord Darcy's words. There was a certain weight to his tone, as if he were hiding more than he was willing to admit. The detective agreed to take on the case, but only under the condition that Lord Darcy reveal everything, no matter how dark or uncomfortable. As they delved deeper into the mystery, Poirot uncovered unsettling details about Lord Darcy's ancestors. The family had been involved in a scandalous affair with a foreign noblewoman, a woman whose life had ended tragically under mysterious circumstances. There were whispers of foul play, but no evidence had ever surfaced to confirm the rumors. The more Poirot uncovered, the more the case seemed to spiral into a labyrinth of secrets and lies. But it was when Poirot began to investigate Lord Darcy's own life that things took a darker turn. Lord Darcy had an obsession with protecting his family's reputation to the point of being willing to commit any act to ensure its survival. The detective uncovered a disturbing pattern, Lord Darcy's own involvement in a series of incidents, that suggested a ruthless pursuit of power at any cost. The man's actions, once seen as those of a noble heir, began to look more like those of a desperate, dangerous individual. Poirot's instincts told him that this was no ordinary case. There was more at play here than just a family's reputation, something far darker and far more personal. But it wasn't until Poirot uncovered the chilling truth behind the death of the foreign noblewoman that the case truly began to unravel. The discovery of the noblewoman's death was not what Poirot had expected. The cause of death had long been ruled an accident, but Poirot's meticulous investigation revealed something else entirely. He found a letter, carefully hidden in the archives of the family estate, a letter that spoke of betrayal, manipulation, and a love affair that had turned deadly. The woman had been pregnant with Lord Darcy's child. He had abandoned her, leaving her to suffer alone. It was a cruel betrayal, one that Poirot could not ignore. The more Poirot uncovered, the more he realized that Lord Darcy had been hiding the truth not only from the world, but from himself. The family's so-called curse was nothing more than the consequence of a dark secret, an unforgivable crime that had been buried for generations. Lord Darcy's obsession with protecting his bloodline was not out of love or loyalty. It was an obsession born from guilt, fear, and an overwhelming need to hide the truth at any cost. As Poirot pieced together the fragments of the past, he came to the horrifying realization that the case had become personal. Lord Darcy's actions had left an indelible mark on the detective's soul, for Poirot understood something that few others did: the power of guilt and the lengths to which people would go to bury their sins. Lord Darcy had not just committed a crime, he had become a victim of his own deceit, and Poirot, in his pursuit of the truth, had become complicit in the destruction of the man he had once respected. It was during a final confrontation between Poirot and Lord Darcy that the full scope of the tragedy was revealed. The aristocrat, now broken and defeated, admitted his guilt, confessing to the murder of the noblewoman in a fit of rage, but the confession was not enough to bring Poirot peace. He knew that the truth would forever haunt him, and the consequences of exposing the secrets of the past would be felt for generations to come. The case concluded with Lord Darcy's arrest, but the repercussions of Poirot's involvement went far beyond the courtroom. The detective, who had spent his life solving mysteries and uncovering truths, was left to confront his own moral compass. For the first time in his illustrious career, Poirot was faced with the question of whether the pursuit of truth was always worth the cost. The case had changed Poirot forever. He had seen the darkness that lay within people, the destructive power of guilt, and the far-reaching consequences of uncovering long-buried secrets. It was a truth that had left him scarred, for Poirot knew that some mysteries were better left unsolved, some secrets better left buried. In the years that followed, Poirot would never speak of the case again. It became a shadow in his past, a chapter of his life that he could never erase but would never acknowledge. He would continue to solve crimes, to seek justice, but the weight of that particular case lingered in his heart, a reminder that even the greatest of detectives could be forever changed by the darkness they uncovered. As Poirot grew older, the memory of Lord Darcy and the tragic family secret faded into the recesses of his mind. But on rare occasions, when the fog was thick and the world seemed unbearably quiet, Poirot would find himself staring out the window, his thoughts drifting to that fateful case, the one that had changed him forever. And though he never spoke of it, he carried the burden of the truth, knowing that some things were better left in the shadows. Years passed, and Poirot's career continued to flourish, his reputation growing ever more legendary. Yet, the case that had shaken him to his core never left him completely. It was as if the weight of that one mystery lingered in the air, always just out of reach. It wasn't until Poirot found himself facing his own mortality, his health beginning to fail, his once sharp mind clouded by age, that the final pieces of the puzzle fell into place. In his final days, Poirot sought solace in the company of those few who had remained close to him. He confided in none, but his mind, restless and tormented by the passage of time, led him to one final moment of clarity. The truth, he realized, was not in the solving of the case, nor in the punishment of the guilty. It lay in the realization that justice, no matter how well-meaning, could never truly heal the wounds of the past. Poirot died quietly, his last thoughts not of the cases he had solved or the triumphs he had achieved, but of the price of knowledge, the burden of truth, and the quiet understanding that some mysteries, though solved, would forever remain beyond his reach. And so, the case that changed Poirot forever remained a secret he never spoke of again, a tragedy that shaped the man who had solved countless crimes, but had never fully reconciled with the darkness he had uncovered.